Hi, I'm Liz Cully, and welcome to a special episode of Cool, Cool, Cool. In this series of episodes, I chat with cool people about parenthood. From my fears of getting pregnant to selecting a donor to how to juggle a career and a family, we talk about it all and nothing is off limits. I was looking for a podcast that represented more of what I experience in the world, and I couldn't find it, so naturally, I decided to make it myself. I want to give a very special shout out to Seattle Sperm Bank, who helped make this series possible and have been so lovely and kind throughout our journey so far. So, welcome to, I guess, an adult version of Cool, Cool, Cool. This is a classic, Liz Cully, but I will tell you, I did have a psychic on this podcast who said I will never win the lottery.
Why are they so negative? Why?
I know. I gotta be honest, though. Every single thing she said happened.
Like how specific?
Very specific. One, speaking of motherhood, that I would have 3 souls or like 3 like children, like beings,
Yeah.
and only 2 would likely happen. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. And then the second one was to get my Bitcoin out immediately, which I tried to do. And then my Bitcoin account was completely hacked, which I'm very much convinced was internal from Coinbase. And all my money was stolen on my birthday. 3, that I would get a new job before I didn't say a fucking word. And that happened. And then 4th, that I wouldn't win the lottery. And here we are.
Oh my God. Okay.
Wearing a Gap collection outfit.
that
was sent to me, but you know.
Thank you at Gap Inc.
Thank you, Cult Gaia Gap collab.
Yeah. But wait, I want to hear about the souls.
Okay, yeah. Even though I'm going to be interviewing you. I did IVF last year, which was a fucking nightmare. 10 out of 10.
Mindfuck.
Don't recommend. I mean, recommend if that's, I mean, you know.
It like, just unfortunately, it's the only choice.
Well, yeah. And actually, the LOL of it all was that to decompress from IVF, I went to Italy, and this book, which you wrote, which when this episode comes out is just about to drop, I cannot recommend it enough. The Motherload was what I decided to read in Italy, coming down from hormones.
Were you triggered?
Sarah, I mean, listen, you confirmed the major fears I have about motherhood, which is not the kid itself. It's the pregnancy and the birth.
Yeah.
The birth, number 1, is the scariest thing for me.
It's so scary. There's so many things working against you. The biggest one for me was the entire medical industry that I thought was there to like protect me and make it safe.
And that's what I found in your book. I mean, there's so many great things. I mean, the Bali moment, like there's so many laugh out loud moments, and then just like you want to cry. I also had the luxury of being able to email you and being like, this is what I'm thinking. And then Rachel's like, you're being crazy. You've never met this woman. Like, let it go. I'm like, okay.
We just met like some cosmic way. I feel like we were immediately simpatico, but also when you were reading it, very few people had read it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Very few. So I was, you were VIP, but so it was kind of fun to like be hearing feedback because I had not heard feedback from, especially from someone that I had never met.
Oh yeah, that's real.
Like you were like one of the first readers outside of my circle of like editors and stuff like that to read it. Like,
well, and I just couldn't put it down. Like I'd be on the train, like going from, whatever, Como to Florence. And I'm like, stop talking to me, stop talking to me, stop talking to me. But at that point, so with the 3 souls, 2 embryos were viable. So I've got 2
on ice.
And I was reading your book, and it's like, there's so many amazing things about you that we get to learn. We get to like see you in your 20s and to now. And like I said, so many laugh out loud moments. But for me, like uncovering the traumas that you had been through and how the medical system just wasn't acknowledging, supporting you at all is my greatest fear. And I have to be honest, like I felt a lot of those things going through IVF.
Oh yeah. You feel like you're in the baby mill. When you go in, did you go in every morning for like monitoring?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did it here, right?
I did it here.
Yeah, I assume there's some differences between LA and New York because I just think there's differences in care for a number of reasons. But you feel like you're in the baby factory every morning. It's just like sad looking woman after sad looking woman waiting to get her blood taken, like scared of needles and doing it anyway. And like the suffering of the IVF cycle.
Well, yeah, but also I think like there's so many things you don't know and people don't talk about. And what I learned about by having so many different people on this show and talking about IVF is there's so much information that just isn't being talked about that is, or experiences that aren't being talked about that happen to many, many people.
Oh, yeah.
So your birth story, as traumatic as it was, I'm like, oh my God, like this is exactly what I fear could happen.
I know no one wants to be in pain and out of control. But unfortunately for me, the first birth, I didn't know how to really avoid that. I thought that by like I had a private doctor. I've, I assumed that like by spending my resources to hire a private doctor that it was some sort of insurance plan that she would be like on my side, that I wouldn't just be a number to
Yeah.
file with the insurance company so she could make money on me, right? Like I thought I had that taken care of. I thought that she would be like my advocate. And when I had said to her for 10 straight months, I'm terrified of being in pain. I'm so scared of labor. I had like cried in her office telling her I was afraid, being like, I don't want anything to hurt. I thought that she understood that and had my back. And just from the second I got to the hospital, I felt nothing but fear. And I felt like no one was on my side. And my husband was there, but he didn't really know how to advocate for me. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. With my second birth, I went to my gynecologist. I had switched OBs by then. And I went in with like a list of things that I was like, I need these criteria to feel safe with you. Can you do them? And she was like, I don't know. No one's ever done this, but like, I'll definitely try. I'm totally open to it, which already was like a win because at my first OB, I had been like, can I have a doula? And she was like, I wouldn't if I were you. You know, most of them tell you that, and in my experience. And so I went in like knowing more of what I needed to feel cared for, but I also had a doula because I knew that I wanted someone in the room who I was like, could really count on.
Yeah.
To pull me aside and be like, what she's about to do could really hurt. Or to say to the doctor, we need a minute to make that decision. We're going to talk it through. Because I'm like not good at confrontation. I don't know. I wanted
A lot of people aren't, especially when they're about to literally have a child.
Totally.
Like,
and you're like under duress because you know you have limited time. Like the clock is against you. You have to deliver a baby. And, you know, if you don't deliver a baby in 24 hours or whatever, most hospitals make you get a C-section. And like, there's a lot of factors against you, and the power dynamic is so skewed because like we haven't been to medical school. So we don't actually know. There's so many variables. You don't know the ins and outs of every possibility like a doctor should. And so I had a doula this time and I loved having her there, but like I almost didn't need her because I was prepared because I had done it before and I knew exactly what I wanted. But I think it's pretty impossible the first time around to know what you want. And there was like one moment, I was so lucky because one of the sort of demands I had was that I wanted an all-female team, like anesthesiologists, nurses, everything. I wanted to be all women. And it was great.
Which is so badass, by the way.
Yeah. And like my anesthesiologist and her, it's not called an assistant, but like the resident and the whatever, I don't know the hierarchy. They were both pregnant. Like it was such a like cool environment. Everyone was wonderful. And we were talking about like, I don't know, like giving gross football players blowjobs in the high school parking lot and like joking around and whatever. Yes.
Love this.
And like they were wearing masks, but they both had amazing fake eyelashes on. And I was like, hello, like my people.
Yes.
After I gave birth, I was like, it was like 4 a.m. I was holding my baby. My doula went to pee. Like she was gone for 2 minutes. The lights flip on, the door bursts open. Some dude walks in and he's like, I'm here to remove your epidural. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Doesn't like introduce himself, nothing, like turns the bright lights on without being like, hey, I'm going to turn the lights on. I'm going to take out your epidural. Just the one moment that a man comes in just like ruins the whole environment that I've been so careful to set up. And I look up, I'm like holding my newborn and I'm like, would you mind waiting 2 minutes? My doula just went to use the bathroom. Like the bathroom's connected to your delivery room. It's like, she'll be out in 10 seconds. And he's like, you need a doula for me to remove your epidural? And I was like, motherfucker, you will never have an epidural. You've never had an epidural. You have no idea what I've been through. You have no idea what like trauma I've brought to this room. You have no clue what my circumstances are. It's a difference of 1 minute maximum. Why do you care? And like, who are you to bring judgment in here? And so I had a doula. I had a literal list for my OB, but there's always going to be some man who comes in, fucks with you.
Sarah, it's still time to become a lesbian. We will welcome you with open arms.
It's really,
and we will raid your closet, or at least I will.
Oh yeah, we can play dress up.
Okay,
Yeah.
But first of all, the list that you write in the final pages of your book, I am not exaggerating. Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. It's something I will take with me. It was so clear and wonderful, and thank you for sharing that with your readers. I can't tell you enough. I was like, yes, girl. Thank you for this.
Okay.
I didn't even think about this. Thank you. Like, I'm also a survivor of a horrible sexual trauma, and like just the list of trauma goes on and on and on and on and on. And I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant that you put this list in the book. Thank you.
Of course, anytime. I mean, I didn't like invent any of it. I just Googled really hard. Like a lot of it's other people's ideas, but it all seems so obvious.
I know, but
then I'm like, why can't doctors, like one of the things on the list is like, you don't have to put your feet in stirrups.
That one I actually really loved.
Cause like, why? Why do you need to put your feet in stirrups? A lot of doctors just have you sit like in the butterfly position. Like they just need your legs kind of open. But like, why do they have to be in some weird metal contraption, you know?
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, it's just creepy. And if a doctor's like, no, you have to, you leave that doctor.
Yes. No, I'm telling you, that list alone, everyone go buy this book immediately for the list. Because it was just you're right. It all seemed very clear, obvious.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard at all.
And yet doctors are like resistant to it, which I think is so shitty because no one walks into a doctor's office with zero trauma.
Yeah, of course not.
You know, no one.
A huge part of the book is obviously about your postpartum with your first.
Yes.
Which just, I mean, my heart, again, looking at the gorgeous view in Portofino as I'm like drinking Aperol spritzes, like losing my mind reading your book. My heart broke for you because I'm just like, oh God, this poor woman is just fucking going through it, and no one can prepare. And this is just an assumption, but like no one can prepare you for the feelings that you felt.
No.
I mean, and no one knows. And what I felt reading it was like, okay, first of all, damn, she's really going there, which you go throughout the whole book there. And by there, we go so many places there.
It's a roller coaster.
But I can't imagine how scary it must have been at the time.
It was really, really dark. I mean, it was like having the worst possible PMS moment, just constantly. You know, when you like once in a blue moon have a crazy period and you like yell at your wife and you're like, oh my God, I was such a bitch. That was totally unhinged.
Yes.
I was like that all day long, every day for a year and just totally couldn't control it. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I was like, I know this isn't me, but I also felt really right. Like I was like, I'm right to be this mad. Like this sucks. No one told me that having a new baby would feel like this. No one told me any of this stuff. Like I'm rage filled with reason.
Right.
And my responses to things felt rational. Like I just felt that I was justifiably upset. And no one was like listening to me or paying attention to me well enough to calm me down. I mean, it was hormonal, but it was also, I felt such a deep disappointment with my birth experience.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people maybe have difficult births or difficult pregnancies or don't love the newborn stage, but they're like soothed by the fact that they love their baby.
Yeah.
But I didn't love my baby. And I felt like such a failure for not loving my baby. And it was so heavy and it was something that I couldn't share with anyone because it just made me feel like an absolute monster. But I just didn't. And I think a lot of it came from the trauma of my birth.
Sure.
I went into like medical shock. I couldn't feel anything at all when he was born. And I had been told over and over and seen in movies that moment when the baby comes out and you like start crying and you're smiling and you fall in love right away and your husband falls in love right away. And therefore, like all the caring for the baby and wiping its ass and all the stuff that you have to do as a mom is like a blessing.
Right.
Because you love this creature more than you ever thought possible to love anything. But like, I didn't feel anything for him. So it was just, it only felt like a burden.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, I guess this is my life forever now. And I hate it.
Woof.
Yeah. And
That's hard.
If someone had just said to me, like, don't expect to be madly in love with this creature when he comes out. It can take like 6 months, a year, whatever, however long it takes. Like, don't freak out. You're going to be fine. You just got to white knuckle it and get through the first few months of like, you know, changing diapers and all that stuff. And you'll come to connect with him and it'll be fine. I mean, now my son is my best friend.
Yes.
He's my favorite person in the world. I would rather hang out with him than any adult. He's so cool and profound and brilliant. But that took a really long time. And I don't think that's like, you know, strange. I don't think it's because I'm actually a monster. I think it's the reality of many people. But I was beside myself I was like, wow, I am like a broken woman that I can't even love a kid.
Do you think that though, if somebody had said, hey, listen, this is going to take a minute, there's so many hormones, like, and so many body changes, and regardless of having a very traumatic birth, you could have white knuckled it without eventually going to therapy, getting on medication? Or do you think that, you know what I mean? Like, do you think that would have—
I think I still needed therapy and medication, but I think that taking away the shame of that feeling would have been like, I think I was so embarrassed to say to anyone,
of course,
I don't know what to do. I don't connect with him. That like it kept me from going to therapy because I was like, I'm going to have to tell her. I mean, at some point I went, but I was like lying because I was like, I can't say to her what I actually feel, which is that I fucking hate being a mom.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to hate being a mom, you know? And I think if someone had said like, this part is really natural. Not everyone connects right away with their kids. Some people are really amazing with a 3-year-old. Some people are incredible with a 14-year-old. You may not be great with a newborn, and that's okay. Your baby will be cared for. And that's what matters in the beginning, you know? If someone had just like removed that shame, I think I could have felt more comfortable with the narrative and like gotten help sooner. And gotten, like, I needed meds. There was no world where with the level of postpartum depression I had, I was getting out of it without meds. Not possible. I tried everything. Like, I did it all. I did all the meditating and the journaling and the yoga and the crystals and whatever. I needed meds, okay? And I had such a stigma about them.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. Which I don't know. Like, I say that to people and they're like, what? Everyone I know is on meds. And I'm like, now, but like, this was, I don't know. I felt differently about it then. I don't know if it's like my Midwestern upbringing or just the subset of people that I was around, but people weren't talking about their, you know, SSRIs and stuff.
Not when you, so that was like 2018, 2019.
I had my son in 2017. So
right?
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think people like to give you, I don't know, like comfort. I actually don't think people were talking about it not in the
same way.
No, because I went on an SSRI in 2019 and I was not well. And my wife is a therapist and was like, dude. And I've always been kind of an emotional, sad, like I'm funny. I use humor to just get through life, but I wasn't okay. And that anger that you talk about, and I didn't have postpartum. I was just like fucking the weight of everything coming together. And I had a really triggering moment at work that like brought up all this childhood shit, but it was the anger, you know, and that's what really flipped. And my wife was like, yo, you are like sort of a sad cloud, but like this is next level. And I haven't gone off of them. And that was really something even in like the new IVF doctor that I now have, who's amazing, which by the way, when I went in for my retrieval, it was all women.
Oh,
women anesthesia. Everyone was a woman and it was
should be. I don't
the shit.
Yeah.
It
different
was
energy.
The different energy, different questions asked, different everything. The only person who's on my shit list is this one nurse who every time I'd go in for like weighing in, I'm like, do not say out loud at all. Don't breathe it. Don't like, if you say what's on that scale, I'm gonna And she'd always be like, oh, I'm like, girl, I told you before, stop telling me how much I weigh.
Wait, that's also so rude and terrible. Like anyone could be listening.
I know, but like, I just was so pissed. I'm like,
I would be pissed too. That's totally unacceptable.
It's fine. Honestly, I should charge her for my fucking trizepatide that I've been on for 6 months, but whatever. That's rather.
Wait, what's that? Is that GLP-1?
Mm-hmm. Changed my life.
Tell me everything.
Today was the last day. Okay, we're really getting into it. Today was my last shot right before I came here.
What did it change for you? Like, what did you like so much about it?
Just wiped away my eating disorders. Goodbye. I went on that progesterone.
Gorge. Is that why your lips look like they do?
No, that's filler.
Okay. All right.
And a lip flip. Progesterone, a T3, which is like for your thyroid.
I'm hypo. I know your pain.
And then like hella supplements. Because after I did IVF, I felt like I was wearing a fat suit.
Yes. You're like the most bloated you've ever been. There's like an extra layer on everything.
It was just not it. And
it's horrible. Hormones are really, when they're not right, they fuck you up so bad.
Yeah. And I'm like always somebody that's yo-yoed. I mean, God, I look at my early 20s, like fucking around New York City at the new school. And I'm like, yo, I looked so good. What was wrong with me? Like size 2, just dicking around New York, like
eating street pizza and nothing matters.
Just nothing matters.
Yeah.
And I hated myself. And I'm like, wow, Liz, that is a huge bummer. But I was also the girl that like woke up every morning, hungover as shit, and went to Barry's boot camp and Soul Cycle. Like even when I was in New York on vacation, like get fucked, went to every bar class. I'm never doing it again. Gained a ton of weight in the pandemic because I got married right before the literally right before the pandemic. So I was the smallest I probably will ever be again. And just like cut, looked great. And then I yo-yoed pretty hard and it was difficult for me to get it off. And then, you know, wine. And
you were nesting.
Yeah. And then this whole IVF thing happened. And I actually went to a functional medicine doctor in Montecito. How LA? Like
it's really LA. These words are just coming at me and I'm like, whoa.
I mean, and I'm like, and so I microdosed tirzepatide. So it's like a compound GLP-1. It's like Mounjaro, but it's mostly peptides.
So you didn't get like sick from it?
No, I felt the best I've ever felt. I mean, I only lost like 12 pounds. So over 5-6 months, which is, I think, pretty healthy.
Totally.
And not like what everybody else in Hollywood did, which is where they just fucking went crazy on it.
And lost like 12 pounds a month.
A month. Yeah. I have friends who lost like 5 pounds every 2 weeks. I mean, just crazy shit.
And they all look so
yeah. And the skin and it's just a wreck. But I can't wait to get back on this. But this was my last shot because I want to implant one of the embryos.
You can't do it at the same time. What do diabetic people do?
I don't know. They say don't, which riddle me this. I have the embryos. They're very healthy, knock on wood.
Yeah, all the things.
And I wasn't on a GLP-1 then, so why do I have to stop now? But they say stop for a month.
And then when you're pregnant, can you be on it? You
cannot be on it.
Okay, got it.
Even diabetic people can't. Nobody can be on it.
Oh, even diabetics
because you just like don't eat very much.
Yeah. No, the baby needs, that fetus
and
needs
food. And you need
food.
to eat food as my stomach growls because I just had a smoothie today.
Cute. Okay, but the minute you pop that baby out, you just go back on your shots. You're fine. Yeah. Now you know how well it works.
Oh, it's a miracle drug.
But I think it's so cool. I mean, I read that New Yorker piece that Gia Tolentino wrote about it some time ago, which I thought was so interesting because I didn't know anything about these drugs and like that it, cures addiction and whatever. Like whatever it does to the part of your brain that gave you eating disorders, like what a gift.
A gift.
They should win the Nobel Prize, these inventors.
100%. I also bought buku stock 3 years ago. And
God, you're good.
Fucking yeah. Well,
making up for that Bitcoin.
That makes me want to kill myself.
So wait, you're gonna pop one of those thingies in?
Yeah.
That part's cute and easy. Don't be scared about that.
Did you do IVF
with this baby?
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about that in the book.
Yeah, she wasn't around yet when I
Fred
turned in
was
that
not
draft.
here.
Fred wasn't here, but yeah, I did IVF with this baby, and when they put it back in, it's cute. You like see it on the screen. They're like, "Yeah, you're pregnant now." You
really?
like watch it go in. Yeah, it's so cute.
Can I ask, did you select the gender?
No, because I did a fresh transfer.
Oh, you did?
Yes. which my doctor like recommended for whatever reasons.
So great.
But I do have embryos on ice. But a fresh transfer means after they put the sperm and the egg together, they like watch all the embryos and they see which one is growing the fastest after like 5 days or something.
Yep.
And they take that one and they put it right back in. So there's not time to do any testing at all. So it wasn't genetically tested or anything like that. And then they genetically test the rest of them, and the ones that like survive and thrive, they put on ice for me. So I have some on ice, but that going back in is fine. It's just that I didn't realize this because no one told me that after the embryo gets put back in, there's 9 more weeks of shots.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No one told me this either.
And it's a progesterone shot, so it actually makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Like, and it like gives you like pretty skin and whatever. But it's a giant needle that goes in your ass every night, and it fucking hurts. And the progesterone is in oil. So you can't you can't put ice on the area after, because the oil will harden into like lumps. So you have to use a heating pad. And like the worst thing to do on a shot is to heat it. Like
I heard.
It like makes it hurt worse. So like it's just annoying. Just 9 fucking weeks of progesterone is coming your way.
Thank you. See what I'm saying?
It just doesn't get, it's not easy. No matter how you do it, it's not easy. Like, I mean, the other way to do it is to fuck a dude. Also not easy. Okay.
Fuck so many dudes for free. I mean, that's really the bummer of it all, right? And after this, if you want to see the donor, I'll show it to you. Because that was a whole thing.
That sounds fun though.
So long to choose a donor.
Yeah, criteria. I know you're high maintenance. I know you. You like you.
No, it was Rachel. It was Rachel.
Okay.
I was Rachel, like, I really threw that cat around. Let me tell you, in my 20s, I was like, man, whatever. He's cute. He has a good personality. Like, whatever.
He's tall.
Like, allegedly sells drugs. Like, who cares? You're so vulnerable about your postpartum. You're so vulnerable about your relationship with your mother, who really seems like my kind of gal.
Oh, she'd be really fun if she were here right now.
Down to the like staying in Sunset Tower because the martinis are better, which she's right.
She is right. But like, she's such a character, and she's such an eccentric. And I'm really grateful that I don't have like a boring mom, but I do wish her communication skills were a little different.
Yeah, I felt that. You and I are quite similar. I have a very fun mom who really didn't parent my experience, which she like did not parent me at all. And she was a little too fun.
Was she like, she wanted to be your friend?
No, she just wanted to like
live her own life.
Live her life. She had me at 40.
Cool.
Didn't know she was pregnant with me until month 6. Found out this is the story we've all been told.
Month 6? How?
Because she had my brother 16 months earlier. So she thought she couldn't get pregnant, which I'm like, okay. Even though she loves to tell people she got pregnant with him on an African safari, like my parents. And then my mother always says the same story. I cried so hard when I called from a payphone in San Francisco to find out I was pregnant with you that I went and had 2 martinis and bought myself a fur coat, which now I have that fur coat.
Okay, this all worked out.
But like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like so many things. And we have a very complicated relationship now. She's actually coming to visit me. I haven't seen her in like almost 3 years.
Whoa, very complicated. Where does she live now?
Florida.
I just feel like women of their generation, like they didn't have it easy.
They did not have it easy. And your mother, at least from, the conversations that you bring us in on, also didn't have it easy, and becomes much more, I think, vulnerable with you once you got pregnant.
Yeah. I like ask her, I look back often and think like, I just know she had postpartum after she had kids.
You think so?
Yes. And I think it was like never resolved. And I mean, how could it have been in like the 90s in Indiana? Like no one was in therapy. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And I just can't, I think like one of my central questions in the book sort of is like, don't mothers also deserve to have their own lives the way fathers do? And I don't think you could in 1990, whatever, in Indiana, if you were a woman. I think it was like really expected of you that you could have a job if you wanted, but like your primary concern was domestic duties and being a housewife. And my mom's really smart.
Yeah.
And I think that probably just like scrambled her brain.
Well, and then she goes on to be an incredibly successful restaurateur.
Yeah, she
James
found
Beard,
her path.
6-time.
Yeah, she's like found her way, but I think for the first 20 years of that or whatever, it was just like such a struggle.
Yeah.
And it was a battle between this idea of the maternal that like she probably didn't want to be. And so I have a lot of empathy for her.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this bitch has not she's not better now that she has access to therapy and can
Sure.
tell her story and like has resources and whatever. Like when we were little, she wasn't successful. Like I didn't have a nanny or anything. It was like all on her all the time, right? Now I'm like, but why haven't you called me back in a week? And why did you switch hotels when you supposedly were coming to visit me, to stay with me and take care of me, etc.? Like
during a huge, scary
crisis in my life.
Yeah.
Like the same problems persist. And I'm sort of like, but why? Now it feels like you could fix all of those things that had their justification 25 years ago,
A big issue that I've had with my mom is actually after, I don't know, almost 20 years in entertainment and having had many shows, she finally found this one and didn't like it and listened to a ton of episodes where I'm always compassionate about my mother, but I'm also telling my truth
you're
and what
being
happened.
honest. Right.
And I woke up to a scroll of text messages about how disappointed she was in me about this podcast, especially around the episodes where I'm scared, where I talk about being scared to have a child.
Yeah.
You are so incredibly thoughtful and honest about you and your relationships, whether it's with your child, your husband, or your mother in this book. And something that I think a lot of people censor because they don't want to hurt those around them or they don't want them to know how they're feeling.
Yeah.
Because they're scared. I've done it myself, but your book is so successful, I think, because we can see every single side of how you feel in these relationships. Were you scared to do that?
Okay. I made the decision when I started writing my book that I like wasn't going to be scared and play that game.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to be like embarrassed or feel ashamed of any of it because like you said, like it was just true.
Yeah.
Like I just wrote down how I really felt. And that's all I have. Like I only have my own story and my own feelings in my brain. And I just said to myself, like, you're not going to feel bad about that. But I did edit a lot.
You did.
Like I wrote what I wrote about my mom, about my marriage, etc. And I spent a long time being really thoughtful about how much of it I wanted to include. Like I wanted to get it all out, but I didn't necessarily want to publish all of it,
Sure.
And there's a lot on the cutting room floor. And also through the process of editing. And like I had already been in so much therapy and so many kinds of therapy for years that like I wasn't processing any of it on the page. I had processed everything. I wrote from a place of like really understanding the narrative, but I tried for months of edits to be like incredibly thoughtful and say to myself, like, this thing is gonna sound harsh. Is it worth? Is there a reward to telling it? And I did that with like every single sentence, especially there's one chapter that's really about my mom, and just like really weighed the risk and reward of everything. And I also let my mom read really early drafts. My husband read every draft. Both she and my husband have been very like supportive and like, this is your story. The thing about memory is it's not a database. Like the way they remember things is not the same as the way I remember things. I'm sure that there are things about my memories that are factually incorrect, but they're still the way my brain stored that information. And they both know that. And we're like, you have to write it your way. Like, that's why it's art. It's because it's your way. It's not like AI didn't put it together for you,
No, AI, it didn't feel like AI. I mean, it's so, you come away with it though, feeling how much love you have for your kids, for your husband, for your mom, for your friends even, who I'm like dying to meet those two girls.
They're amazing people. But the thing is like, and I wonder if you feel this about your mom, like, I feel like I am just grieving always the relationship I want with her.
Sarah.
And isn't that like, that's
Girl.
every daughter, right?
That's the whole, you just said exactly what it is. I am grieving something that maybe never even existed, can't exist, doesn't have the capacity to exist.
But I'll hold out hope till the day I die.
Of course you will.
I'll never stop wanting that relationship.
No. And that's why you'll make excuses or make concessions or, yeah, of course.
It's different with like a husband. It's different with a man because like, bye. I have my 2 babies. You know, if I didn't
I know, I'm saying you could come on, you could come on this side. If you've got the kids, that's the hard part.
Your support.
You're welcome. We're
I'm
ready.
just like, if I didn't want to be with him, I wouldn't be with him. If you weren't living up to the challenge, bye. Fine. Like that part's easy. But like your mother, no matter how your mom fails you, it's not easy to close that door. You know, that's like, it's
very
so
hard.
biological what you want from them, the kind of relationship you want from them. And I just like, I almost can't get over it. Like, I've processed it. I've been in therapy. I've written a book about it. I'm now a mother. I understand what it's like on the other side. And I will die wanting my relationship with her to be a perfect thing that I don't think it can be.
Girl.
And like, she'll probably listen to this and she'll probably hear it. And I just like it. I don't say any of it because I want it to hurt her feelings. I say it because I just still hold out hope that something will work. And
of course.
And I also am like, of the firm belief that it doesn't have to be this way for me and my daughter.
No. And I think that what's really interesting is there's a lot of women that are our age that are having kids now, especially daughters, and they are actively trying to break this cycle. Because my mom had this, my grandmother lived with us for a couple years when I was young, and she was so put together. And so, I mean, like, oh my God. But she also had a horrible drinking problem and had 4 kids by the time she was like 23 or something.
You'd have a drinking problem too.
Yeah,
if you had 4 kids by the time you were 23.
You know what I mean? Like 100%, even though they were like so wealthy, had staff, like it doesn't matter. Like she was, you know, but I saw her doing the same thing that you're talking about. Just wanting a relationship with my grandmother that was never going to happen, even moving her into our home.
Right.
And it was like, but you just did the same thing with me, you know? But your honesty is so beautiful because you come out of this book and I'm like, oh my God, she loves the fuck out of all these people. And she's so strong. And you're such this like enigma. By the way, that Harper's Bazaar photo shoot. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Like the Vogue, like Fred's coming out party in a cemetery. Don't think that I'm not a psychopath, that I've read all, like I've seen it all. I know it all.
I really, really wanted, my friends were so generous to throw that party for her.
Gorgeous.
After she was born, and it was the best day ever.
I'm like looking at this like, oh my God.
You get one too after you
let's hope
do that thing. Okay.
Okay. But I just, you know, you've got this like incredible, like you're so brilliant. You have a fucking master's degree. You're running Go Gacy. Like, girl, so many incredibly posh, smart, sophisticated things that you've got going on in your life. And then you're able to be this like raw and relatable. And it's so admirable and amazing. But the book is so successful because you gave 0 fucks and you went for it.
That part is true. I did give 0 fucks and I did go for it. But I think some of it is like, I had never written anything before this, really, you know,
which was incredible because you talk about that. There is a moment in the book, because no spoilers here, you know, where you take some time to really work on yourself, which is amazing. And really, that's when you're like, I'm going to start to write and this is what I'm going to do. And for me, that was so inspiring because I'm like, oh shit, she's like, you know,
started out of nowhere. I mean, I was actually in LA when I like was like, maybe I want to write stuff. I had a whole other job and a whole other career that I really loved, but like, and I'd never thought of myself as a writer. I'd never thought, oh, I want to write a book one day ever. I had only written like academic stuff, press releases maybe, but art history. And I had never written anything personal or nonfiction that was like narrative about myself. And so when I started writing a book, I was like, well, I have no clue if I'm like good at writing. I have no idea if I'm like Truman Capote, you know, but I know that I can tell the truth.
Yeah.
And I know that I can just say to myself, like, fuck what the internet thinks. Your story is your story.
Fuck what the internet thinks.
And that's the one thing you can do is just be honest.
Right.
So I just like went with that because I don't have an MFA. Like I don't know how language is blah, blah, blah. I don't know the proper structure of things. And like, I learned some of it on the way, but like, I don't know. I'm not Virginia Woolf, but but I can tell the truth.
Did Virginia Woolf have an MFA? I don't think so. And did
Probably
Truman
not.
Capote? I don't think so.
You're right. Okay. These were bad examples.
Truman Capote also did what you wouldn't do, which is like talk
He told
shit.
way too much truth.
Yeah, he
okay?
like went too hard in the paint. I'm like, you really fucked up a good thing, kiddo.
Totally. What was he thinking?
I don't know what he was thinking.
He had it all going for him, and he really like threw everybody under the bus, and then not good. Okay, we won't do that. But like, I don't know. I just feel like I sort of relied on truth because I was like, that's the one thing that I know will always like point you in the right direction, you know. So
do you think that in the fashion world, in the art world, it's so curated?
Yeah.
Right. And you're such a figurehead in those worlds. And your marriage and you're like your whole life, right? Your whole life. Was it freeing to just like talk about, you know, like shitting yourself to the extreme from food poisoning, which was one of my favorite parts, by the way.
I mean, if you've never shit your bed, then you haven't really lived. Like I encourage it. It's a once in a lifetime thing, right?
I will tell you, I did have to pause when we were in Italy. I can't remember we would have been in Florence at that point when I read it. And Rachel and I, early on in our relationship, went to Mexico City, and I was laying in the shower, throwing up and shitting myself while we were staying at like the Ritz-Carlton or something. It was this like open concept, ridiculous room.
No.
And there was no bathroom door. It was like, you know, one of those like stupid bathrooms. And she's just like on the toilet with the trash can shitting. Like we were like that for 4 days.
What did you eat?
I think it was at this restaurant in Palenque that I saw recommended on Goop. And we had this fish because at the time Rachel wasn't eating any meat. And I'm like, I spent the majority of my life in Mexico, and I was like, girl, I think we're too far from the ocean. And
you're like, we're landlocked. So
I will never forget saying that. Being like, I don't know, actually. Like, I think you should eat pork and beef this week. Like, just go for it. We did not. And I think that's what it was. It could have been anything. I've never been sick in my life on vacation like that.
It's terrible. It sucks. And it's like, it's kind of scary. Yeah.
It was. But you, like I said, you have this like gorgeous life that we, you know, like I said, like we're in Vogue. We're like, the New York Times wedding announcement. Of course I read it. Dead. And then you're like, yeah, I'm like shitting a bed. Yeah. Was it freeing?
Yeah, kind of. Okay. I mean, like the reality is that everybody exists in their own version of high and low, you know? Sure. So like, I don't know. I think like we're all sick of the game of pretend we're playing on Instagram.
I mean, you know what's the worst game of pretend? Girl mom, boy mom.
Oh, it's so annoying.
Sarah, I can't. Whoa. I'm like, nah, I can't do this.
Well, the worst part of parenting is the other parents, you know? Like
I did experience that recently as a non-parent, but I made the grave mistake of allowing multiple friends. They wore me down and they came to my Christmas party
with their children,
and it was really bad.
What was the worst part?
I don't know, like 7 boys between the ages of 2 and 8 ripping apart my trees, my orange trees, my grapefruit trees, my lemon trees, and chucking fruit at each other and at my walls in the house, like outside the house.
Wait, are their parents uncivilized?
It was a rough moment for me.
That's really rude. I'm really sorry that happened to you.
It's okay.
Children are devils. They're like totally, they're
I actually love all these kids,
beasts.
But they're feral.
Especially when they get together. It's like Lord of the Flies when you put them together.
Like, what the fuck, man?
But I'm like kind of strict about stuff like that. Like I grew up, my parents are both Southern and I grew up in Indiana, and they were very like, I like had to say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, you know? So,
same.
Which
I'm
like
a fucking WASP debutante from San Francisco. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like I was not allowed to literally play with my Christmas presents until I wrote a handwritten note to every single person, inclusive of Santa, on monogrammed cards. Like, you're getting a thank you note for coming here.
Don't even waste your time. I know
Why?
how
I'm just,
important
it's
you
like
are.
unbelievable. Like, it's crazy.
It is just wild though to see, like, it's hard to restrain a child. They're feral monsters, but there are like some things that are unforgivable to me. And I'm like, and of course I'm like a total helicopter parent about it. Like if my kid were here, I would be like, say hi to Mrs. So-and-so. And like, oh my God, did you say please and thank you? And like totally nervous about it. And it works like 4% of the time, but at least I get to demonstrate that I'm aware that he's being a tiny monster.
Sure.
But like, you can't just let your kids fuck with other people's stuff. That's
it was a learning experience for me and no one else. So,
but like,
cool.
I don't have mom friends. Like honestly, not really. I have friends that I had before that became moms, before, during, or after me. So I technically have friends that like have children, but what
about the one mom in the mom group?
Like
went away.
Yeah. Like there are moms that I like there are kids at my son's school who the moms are like lovely people, like genuinely cool and nice and fun. But like, maybe it's a stage I'm at in my life. I don't know. I don't have someone that I like text all day long, like, oh my God, guess what my kid just did? I don't have like a mom bestie like that. And I actually think you need it. And here's why.
You do.
Okay. Because when kids are like 13 and their hormones kick in, I just learned this. They're biologically programmed to not listen to their parents because historically they have had to like, that's when kids are you're technically your most fertile from like 13 to 25 or whatever.
Yeah.
They have had to leave like their tribe, their nest, their people to procreate. Otherwise the inbreeding would happen. So they're biologically programmed to stop listening to their parents and to get the urge to like leave, right?
Yeah.
To avoid inbreeding.
Makes sense.
So when your kids turn like 13, 14, whatever, and those hormones kick in, they become even more monstrous and they won't listen to you, but they will listen to your friends.
Oh, actually.
So like if you have like a mom bestie that you can be like, oh my God, little Steven is being such a monster. He's like getting a C in math, blah, blah, blah. Your mom bestie can be like, what's going on at school? And talk to them in a way that they'll listen. So eventually, just from the perspective of you wanting your kids to like be successful and happy in life, I think you need mom friends who can like have your back and help out during that phase.
See, I did that for my friend who had a kid when we were really young, but I just scared her. I was like, people get gonorrhea in their throat. And speaking of the pandemic, and I'm like texting her furiously, being like, just so you know, like, everyone has chlamydia and it's called the clap. And if you would like to Google, I mean, I was a monster. And then of course, thank God she's queer. She's like, Auntie Liz, like, are you okay? And I'm like, just letting you know, like nobody uses condoms anymore. And like, here's like an entire Wikipedia of like AIDS in the 90s in San Francisco. I mean,
you were
crazy.
A resource to her. You're an encyclopedia. I mean, I do think like if someone had said to me, you're going to get HPV and you're going to have it for fucking ever. I wish someone had like given me that heads up. Cause like I've had HPV for like 15 fucking years. It won't go away.
Well, and also, did you know that you can get there's like a million different kinds of HPV?
Oh, I'm sure I have 9 of them. Like I don't
know. Well, you also like met Tom so young.
I know.
23?
Yeah.
Girl.
I had it before him. And also my doctor was like, oh, when you have a baby, it like usually goes away after that. Nope. Came back like better than ever. I'm just like, what is this plague that men don't even, it's like asymptomatic for them. Like someone should have, men don't even know when they have it. Of course.
Literal
trash. So easy for them. So yeah, I think of you as a incredible resource for that young person.
Yeah. Guy, hit me up. I'll let you know what's up.
Because like if I tell him that, he's gonna be like, Mom, you're so gross. Go away.
Yeah.
But if my mom friends are like, buddy, be careful of all the STDs, he'll listen.
Honestly,
so that's
I think
a good
if
reason
you just
to have a
say
mom
the
friend.
clap, that's very scary.
It's so scary.
It's very, or syphilis. Or if you just drive around Los Angeles, there are huge billboards that are all about syphilis. I don't know if you noticed that.
Wait, is that like is syphilis back?
Apparently, according to Hollywood, if you drive around Hollywood, there are massive billboards that's like, syphilis is back, gonorrhea's in your throat. And I'm like,
Whoa.
whoa.
Okay. I mean, syphilis is like a crazy one though, because it makes you mentally ill.
Correct.
That's a terrible outcome. Like, that's so wild.
Listen, you scared me. I'm here to scare you.
That's some World War I shit, syphilis. Like,
truly, like literally, actually,
Mhm.
where people's just dicks fall off. It's disgusting.
It's a really bad
It's
one.
really terrible.
Mhm.
Did you, one last question, and you kind of talk about this a little bit, or you allude to this, but like, when the day that your beautiful children read this book,
Yeah.
my thought is like, how wonderful it is that they get to like really know their mom.
Yeah. I mean,
Are you nervous about it though, or no?
well, I'm nervous if like, I don't know, at the height of their like pubescent hormones,
Sure.
if they read it, I'm sure they'll be like, I hate my mom.
Right,
Because
right, right.
like you take any reason you can to hate your mom when you're 16, you know, or at
Yeah.
least I sure did. But I like really believe in truth.
Yeah.
And I think they'll have their own truth. And my honesty about the people in my life has like only brought me closer with most of them. Not all of them. There are some people who I think like for their own reasons and their own demons can't handle honesty.
Sure.
But it hasn't like steered me wrong yet, you know?
Yeah.
And I want them to like live in a world where women don't have to feel ashamed about their reactions to the like maternal ideal, and where they have a mom who like felt fulfilled by her creative choices and wasn't afraid to be honest about the things that she had experienced in her life. Like, that's more important to me than their like short-term feelings about like, ooh, mom wrote about having sex with dad,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, I'm sure there will be some of that, but I'm trying to like build the world that I want them to live in.
Sure.
And I want them to live somewhere where they can be fully honestly themselves.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had no choice, right?
Yeah. And I also think like you and I share this. Like, I wish I knew more of my
Always.
mother's truth.
Yes. Oh my God. I think there's something about that in my book where I'm like, you just know so little about your mom. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember, I don't think my mom ever told me like her first boyfriend or
Yeah.
when she got her first period, or all these little things that kind of end up defining who a woman becomes.
Sure.
You know so little of your mother. They spend so much of their life focused on you and doing things for you and trying to build their own careers and all that too, that like you lose the like minutia of their identity. You know, it's just not imparted onto daughters, I don't think.
And I think the other way around as well.
Oh, I hid so much from my mom my whole life.
You hide so much,
Yeah.
you know, because you're scared of getting in trouble. And I think that's what's really beautiful about, again, how brutally honest. And I know you've like been doing, I mean, girl, you've been on that press tour. And I've listened to your interviews, which are great, with many of my friends. Shout out Jenny Mullen.
Wait, you're friends with Jenny?
Yes,
That's
I talked to
so
Paul about it.
amazing.
Paul and I, when I talked to Paul, I was like, she should go on All the Fails.
Oh my God. Jenny knows everyone.
Jenny knows everybody.
You might also know everyone. You seem like one of those people too. But
I am like Kevin Bacon-ish. Yes, I do. But and even Whitney Port, who's lovely.
what a sweetheart.
What a sweetheart.
Oh my goodness.
I know. But it's so much about your experience with postpartum, which is obviously the heartbeat of the book. But what I love is like so many other elements, like seeing how you like relate to all these people, standing up for yourself, growing up because you were so young. Also, if I ever have a baby shower, drugs and cigarettes are the theme as well. I'm stealing that from you. It was
As you should. Oh my God. I gift it to you, please.
so chic. I was like, yes. But the brutal honesty, and also sharing with us like who you are, I just thought was like the most beautiful thing. And it's, I think, why it's so successful.
Thank you. I think everyone should live like that. The world would be more interesting.
I agree. Thank you for being here.
Oh my God, is it over?
Yeah.
What? That was so fun.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience in their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's Libsyn ads.com today.